Sound effect roll number.
YE5.
4,000.
Recording with an XY.
It's gonna be some wild stereo.
A man getting bit by an alligator and he screamed.
Take 4.
Recording on a Tascam.
That thing's crazy.
Okay, right?
Multiple
M16
reproducer test tape.
Mics.
That's a nice sound.
Hi everybody, I'm Steve Lee, and this is Soundies, a Hollywood Sound Museum podcast. My very first guest is Grace Stensland. I met Grace online, on Instagram. She was sharing fun stories about making silly sounds, and I was intrigued. And we quickly became friends. I'm proud to have her as my first guest to tell her story. And she has also become my co-producer on this very show. So I hope you enjoy my chat with Grace Stensland. Hi, how are you?
Hi, it's nice to be here.
You're coming from your office where you were. Tell me what is your home, your post place that you've been at for a little while?
So I work for Sound Rebels. We're based in Burbank next to Nickelodeon Animation Studio.
Wonderful.
We do audio post-production for animation primarily, but also reality TV.
That's cool. You're sort of a newbie to this, even though you've got a lot of titles under your belt and all that sort of thing. But is this like your first major job, or did you have anything before this?
In the industry, yes,
Yeah.
This is my first major job. I interned at a nonprofit music camp doing audio and videography prior to my internship at Sound Rebels, which is how I got my foot in the door in the industry.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, is this something you've always wanted to do? Was this something you pursued, or did you just fall into it?
Ever since freshman year of college. So I took a sound design class my second semester, actually thinking it was the composition class, the composing class for a film.
Oh, wow.
And the first day they showed us a Pro Tools breakdown of the film Forrest Gump. And it was just like that, the war in Vietnam scene.
Yeah.
And, just seeing all the layers and stuff, my jaw literally was on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, COVID hit around the same time, and me learning Pro Tools on my own computer that was running Catalina, so it wouldn't work with video. That was not great. So there's a high learning curve there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from having it start as the hardest class I took in college to then becoming a really fulfilling career has just been really rewarding.
That's fantastic. I always knew that this was what I wanted to do. So I kind of just leapt into it. I had a few little jobs, when I was young and in college and all that, but my career started shortly thereafter, and I've never looked back. So that's great to find another person who knew from the beginning that this was their thing. Now, you've been at this company for a few years.
Yeah.
You do a lot of animation and TV.
Yes.
How did that, you're still so new to this, and to get, set up in this wonderful thing, this sound shop, it must have been pretty exciting and sort of learning on the job in some respects for a lot of the work, right?
Yeah, I came in pretty much just knowing basic Pro Tools. So even my first day, they're like, okay, you're going to learn how to cut footsteps. It's like, okay, this is where sync is. And even learning just the very basics of how you would go about constructing a background. That was my first week. And so that was back in 2022 when I interned for 3 months. But yeah, I pretty much had to start from the basics. During my internship, they had a short scene from the TV show Inside Job, which I was a huge fan of, that they were going to be working on that summer. And so they gave me a scene from it, had me, start cutting, go through many, many, many rounds of notes, because I was just starting.
Yeah.
And yeah, by the end of the summer, I proved myself enough that they're like, hey, we want you to come back.
That's
and
great.
So I finished my last semester, and then 2023 in January, I came right back out here.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I love it when you don't know any better and you just kind of jump in. And so they had me in the same position at the shop I was at, Richard Anderson. I think I told you this story. Richard would always give me reel one, which was always the busiest reel in these shows. We talked about some of the films that I worked on, Flushed Away. The guy gets flushed down a toilet in reel one. And Brother Bear. There's an avalanche in Brother Bear. But I didn't know any better. I just jumped in and did the work, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, I think, for us being that we're a small company, it was the perfect place for me
Mm.
to learn because there was always opportunity. There were always moments of like, hey, Grace, I have this note. Can you hit it real fast and just, send me what you got? I would just be called in to do notes or, hey, I'm going to work on this session, this episode today. Do you want to come and sit with me? And
Mhm.
so I learned a lot sitting behind Rob and constantly picking up on his feedback. And
That's great.
yeah.
It's interesting that Foley is usually considered sort of an entry level thing.
Foley
Yeah,
editing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's always kind of surprised me because it can be very complex and very, detail oriented and,
Hmm.
was it sync heavy and all that. So
Yeah, to do it well and to do it quickly
yeah,
takes a lot of skill. And I did, I'm even now I'm still Foley editing on one of our shows. But yeah, I Foley edited, I swear, like 80% of my time for the first 2 years.
right.
Yeah.
A lot of TV, they'll just hang the Foley, and unless they see something that, is really bad, and then they'll jump in and fix the sync. But sometimes, yeah, there's not even, and that's like the first thing to like not worry about. So when you were growing up and watching movies and cartoons and things like that, what were some of the things that inspired you that you can look back on now as being an influence?
Definitely movies like the Disney Pixar, like Moana and Encanto and The Incredibles. And like, I was a big Disney Pixar kid, like,
Oh, that's great.
absolutely loved it. I swear I watched every one of those movies.
Hmm.
Um, Even to this day, like all the animated features that are coming out these days, like K-pop Demon Hunters, like I'm obsessed with K-pop Demon Hunters. Yeah, like I feel like I found such a home in animation. I like the fantastical, the whimsical, the sci-fi, the magic. Anything in that realm, I am all over.
Some of the people I've been talking to for this podcast started out listening and recording things off the TV and breaking down sound effects and all that. Did you have any of that early on, like sound wise? Or was that something that you can look back on now, having your career and what you do, sort of look back at what you enjoyed previously and look analytically at it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really know that sound design is a career or
Yeah.
don't know the sound effects. So I wasn't one of those people recording like the TV or anything like that. But I grew up a musician. I was in music. I played piano when I was like, 5. I played flute for I think 15 years all through school. I was always in music. I was always in sound. I liked making more weird sounds with your instrument. One of the first things that I recorded actually was during like my sound design class. I took my flute, I took the head joint off, and I played it like a clarinet, like buzzing
Mm-hmm.
into the flute, because I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to see like the weird sounds I could create with it.
Sure. And it's really fun to hear because so many people in our business started with some kind of music.
So many of them, almost everyone that I talk to, probably like 90% of us are very in tune with the rhythm and the cadence and the
Yeah,
pitching and
a lot of
um
drummers. I
yes,
mean,
ton of
Ben Burt was a
percussionists.
drummer. Jimmy McDonald was a drummer.
My boss
Uh,
Rob McIntyre is a
yeah,
percussionist too. Yep.
my pal Ron Bartlett,
Hmm.
Oscar winner for Dune. He was a drummer. It's funny how that happens.
Do you have a music background too?
A little bit. I mean, my family did. My grandfather was a very talented musician, could play anything. My sister was very talented too. She played a lot of instruments. She played bagpipes for God's sake.
Bagpipes.
Yeah.
You don't hear that
Yeah.
one every day. That's awesome.
And we recorded it for a few things. We
Oh, good.
did the comic, bagpipe, moaning kind of stuff
Yep.
and all that, the typical. There's some great recordings in the Warner Brothers library that they used for cartoons that we kind of emulated.
I collect all like any musical sound toy prop, anything like that. I think I have like 2 harmonicas, like 18 different types of bells. I have like 6 recorders. I just have like drawers full of chimes,
Oh,
anything that
that's
you can
great.
think of, like musical. I love all that kind of stuff. I think if I were doing more stuff directly in cartoons, I could use it
Mhm.
all over the place. I used a lot of it on Teen Titans Go. That was a good show
Oh,
for
that's
the
fantastic.
musical stings.
you should have you looked into the work that Jimmy McDonald did at Disney, because he was the musician, and he would build props that made the sounds and treat it as a performance. That
I
made all
have
that
not.
stuff very specific. Yeah.
I need to do some research into that one.
Yeah.
I am not familiar with the
Well,
name.
I wrote an article for the Motion Picture Sound Editors magazine about Jimmy that you might want to check
Ooh.
out.
I will do that.
But yeah, and they still have a lot of his props. They're in storage at Imagineering. And you listen to some of the takes, the raw takes of his stuff, and they're like counting down, and he's tapping, the countdown, and there are three guys, each of them performing a specific thing, like a comic car engine or something.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You have the advantage of growing up in the digital age. So you kind of adapted a lot quicker than some of us old folk to the new tools and all that. But the techniques and the process and the layering of the sounds, that stuff never changes. But you've been blessed to grow up in the Pro Tools era, where you can just, click a button and you have as many tracks as you want. The choices you make become the more important thing. Then sort of you have the freedom to just add tracks as you need.
I think while it's a major benefit to have all of these tools and plugins and, any program under the sun available and just at our fingertips, it also can sometimes slow you down. And having your go-to plugins, a lot of what I use is the stock plugins from Pro Tools. I use a lot of the Radium channel strip, especially in TV where you have to work incredibly quickly.
Sure.
And make those decisions really, really fast. Doing it correctly versus having many, many, many layers and tracks is kind of more the goal in order to be able to be as creative as you want, but also fit in with the deadline that you have.
Absolutely. I always thought it made you more creative to have more limitations. If you only had 8 tracks to work with, you had to sort of think in terms of everything that you would need to tell your story with just those many layers.
I'm going to sound very young, so apologies in advance.
No, please.
The only time I've ever worked on tape, I was in college and we did a project using 4-track tape.
Oh,
and
wow.
That was one of the hardest things that I had ever worked on, because you have to make the decision and hope that you made the right one.
Sure.
It's it's that critical listening. It's like, oh, how am I going to group the voice part? This is for music, but like, how am I going to group the voice parts versus the background vocals versus where's the drum set going to sit? Do we have to like commit to all of the panning choices?
Absolutely.
And that was really tough, especially because I had always, been working in Pro Tools up until that point.
Yeah. So if you were to give advice to your past self, or just someone coming up through the ranks that decides this is what they want to do, what are some of the things that they need to know? What are some of the things that you've learned along the way that you would impart?
I think be humble, be willing to learn. You cannot have an ego. The biggest thing that I've learned is that the people in the industry who are really passionate about what they do, they want to pass on this thing that they love. I'm one of those people. I want to pull the next people up next to me and like bring them with me. That's huge. And so you don't know everything. You're always going to learn something from somebody. They might be the same age as you. I'm learning from my friends constantly.
Well, you're also sharing what you're learning along the way. I mean, I found you online. I saw your posts and your Instagram, and you're sharing some of this fun stuff. And it's great, because that's what I'm all about right now. As I'm winding down, I want to get it all out of my head and share it. And you're doing it as you go.
I started creating the videos on Instagram just because I love sound. I eat, sleep, and breathe sound. Like sound brings me joy, and I just want to be able to share it as best as I can.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons we got along so well initially, is because it's the same sort of thing. And there's an unlimited wealth of stories and tips and
I am here for all of the stories, every single one of them.
That's why I've started the museum and talked to people along the way.
It's really interesting thinking about audio as history, audio as this piece of media that will long past with you. I just find it so beautiful, this field.
Well, it makes me feel better that I actually can give this stuff back and put it out there in a form that people can actually use if they want to, if they're excited about this, like I was.
There's a lot of wonder in sharing a storied career like you have.
Well,
and
I
sharing
that.
the archives and
I'm happy to share this stuff too. And I'm finishing up, some writings about this. And so it's always nice to have someone ask me questions about what I did so that I remember some of the stories. I don't think about it until someone brings it up again, or I watch a movie. I'm flipping channels and I'll see something I worked on and realize, oh my God, I forgot about that. That was wild. I appreciate you coming on to tell your story and helping me make this show. Thank you.
Soundies, a Hollywood Sound Museum podcast, is produced by Steve Lee.
And me, Grace Stensland.
To listen to our episodes first with extended material, join us on Patreon. Learn more about the museum at hollywoodsoundmuseum.org. Drop us a line at soundiespodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for joining us. Keep listening.
Okay, folks, it's a wrap.